Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of our Lunch with Lishia. Lishia isn't here today. Um, she took this week off, but we're back again with our Foster Care Awareness Month session here at the Children's Shelters Foster Care Program. And today we have a very special guest. We have Allie Hennis, who is our Permanent Support Services Director. And Allie's going to talk a little bit about our therapeutic foster care and our program here at the Children's Shelter. But before we do that, I want to make sure and remind everybody that it is Foster Care Awareness Month, and which is the reason why we're doing this. And I want to highly encourage everyone out there and all our viewers and all our supporters that if you can help us out in whether it's through your social media or just having conversations or spreading the word through your community about foster care awareness, we are always in dire need of foster care families. And so here at the Children's Shelter, we do have our foster care program where we do provide all that. And Ali will talk a little bit more about this, but I also want to talk about Mental Health Awareness Month that is also this month. And we are having conversations with our Hope Center staff, our Harvey E. Nasium Hope Center staff. And they're talking a little bit again about mental health and the work that they do at the Hope Center. So tune in on those. We are having another session Friday with Navia, one of our Hope Center staff. But I want to get back to our Care Awareness Month. As you guys know, we are always advocating for that all year round. Although May is Foster Care Awareness Month, we really wanted to bring that back in with one of our family of services, which is our Permanency program, our foster care program. Hence, Allie Hennis here. Hi, Allie. How are you today?
Hi, Ernesto. Hi, Facebook Live folks. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
It's
I know
always
I'm
good
not
to see you
I'm
because
not
I don't
Lishia.
ever get to see you often. So it's like even if it's through this, I'm very happy and very grateful that you're here. So yeah, Ali. So tell us a little bit first about therapeutic foster care, which is really why we're having you on here to talk a little bit about therapeutic foster care, and again, in just a nutshell, tying it in with the process and how it's for those people. And I want to encourage the people out in the community and our followers. Who know if you are not interested in becoming a foster care family. Maybe you know somebody who is brother, sister, uncle, aunt, co-worker, or again, just please put this information out using the hashtag Foster Care Awareness Month, and please share this video and any other information that we put up on our social media. But yeah, so Ali, it's good to have you, and yeah, let's just talk a little bit about our foster care program. Maybe you can just give us some info, how it works, and just make it really organic. And I'll leave that up to you to share that with us.
Well, sounds good. Thank you for inviting me to do this. I'm not Lishia, but I'll try to do maybe half as good a job as she does. And you, of course. And I love that you were mentioning that it's Foster Care Awareness Month and it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And I think that I don't think that the folks who set aside what month is going to be what really intended that to happen. But one of the things I love is that they are the same month. And you were mentioning, therapeutic foster care. What is that all about? And we have traditional foster care, and then we use this for therapeutic. And what does that really mean? And I love that those two things are happening and celebrated during the same month. Because when I think about kids in foster care, obviously they've experienced some sort of abuse, neglect, or trauma. And while that doesn't necessarily create a mental health diagnosis, right, it's going to impact a child's mental and emotional well-being. So I think that it's very difficult to not have awareness of and appreciation for and honor, the emotional well-being of the kid in foster care, considering what they've gone through in order to have been, placed in foster care, but even in the foster care system, it's stressful. It's difficult. You're going into a home where you've never been before as a child. You're not sleeping where you normally sleep. Your belongings are gone. Your school is potentially changed. Things like that are going to affect the mental health of a kiddo. So I appreciate that these two events occur, or these two understandings occur within the same month.
Yeah.
So for us, Obviously we're a foster care program, so we are licensing families in the community to take care of kids in our community, to provide foster parenting and foster care. When I think about the therapeutic component of it, for us, it's really about a lot about the philosophy that we have in terms of how we believe is best to help kiddos and their emotional well-being, and then the services that we provide in order to accomplish that. So to elaborate a little bit more, some kids, because of the trauma they've experienced, that maybe they need or would benefit from counseling. As a therapist myself, I'm always going to say that, right? Everybody can benefit from counseling. But certainly if you are a young person and you've experienced trauma, right? Maybe even some individuals may benefit from psychotropic medications, things of that nature. So not to discredit those services by any means, because those are a component of our program for kids who need them. But for us, we really feel like the main agent of change in a foster child's life, the main thing that helps them heal from their trauma and helps them grow is the relationship that they're able to establish with the foster parents, with their primary caregivers during that period of time. Majority of the trauma that our kiddos have experienced have happened within the context of relationship. So in order to heal from that, they need relationship to be able to begin to trust again and feel safe, right? So we feel the primary agent of change for our kiddos is the foster family. That's what truly helps heal the child and helps their emotional well-being. So everything that we do as an agency is geared towards helping support that attachment and that connection between the foster child and the foster parents. So that's kind of how we design and gear services. But when I think about therapeutic parenting, that's what I think of the most, is that connection. And what does that parent need and what does that kiddo need in order to create that safe and healthy connection? Mm. And from a parenting standpoint, there's kind of, there's traditional paradigms about parenting. And most of us were raised in those ways, kind of a sit, bark, stay, roll over, do it because I say type thing. And then there's trauma-informed or trauma-sensitive parenting. And we focus a lot on the trauma-sensitive parenting. We use TBRI, which I know we've done some TBRI videos in the past.
For some of our folks out there, TBRI is trust-based relational intervention.
Correct. Yep. You got it.
Yeah.
And it's an approach addressing the overall wellness of a child, but really with the understanding of the way trauma has affected their lives, their regulatory system, their brain, which impacts obviously their behavior. And so we kind of move away from some of the traditional forms of parenting and even discipline in order to meet the needs of the child. And it's really about helping them have felt safety, not just know that they're safe. Maybe they know that they're not going to be physically harmed in the foster home. They know that they're going to be fed, things like that. But really that feeling of being safe, and that felt safety is a little different than knowing you're safe, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's great. So I know that the aspect of therapeutic foster care, and you mentioned TBRI, and that's a very important, focal part of like our program. And if I know that people always have just general, very standard questions about, the approach. And I know more so than ever. And I was actually talking to a really good colleague / friend of mine last night a little bit. And she brought up the idea of foster care. And we know that there also comes the stigmas with that, right? And it's, sure. And not necessarily always negative, but it's almost like the fear, like, well, I just don't know if I'm XYZ, or I just don't know if I am one who can, or I, and so maybe we could just touch up a little bit about that on how everybody, should be given an opportunity to, if they choose to, be part of a foster family? And what does that take to move forward with something like that?
Sure, absolutely. And having some anxiety about it, having some fear and some worries about it is completely normal and anticipated and expected. And I become more concerned about a family if they don't have any worries, because parenting in general is a stressful, worrisome situation. Parenting another adult's child and knowing that child has had some some trauma is scary. And I think the important thing to know is that you don't have to have a lot of knowledge about trauma. You don't have to have a lot of experience with parenting or with kids. Of course, all those things can be helpful, but we're going to come alongside you and help give you the support. And that starts with, once you're vetted and all that kind of stuff, which I'll talk about in a minute. And that starts with the training and developing relationships with our team, and coming into your home. We'll be there to assist you. We're there to assist you with any difficulties that are happening at school, making sure the kiddo is all the kind of supportive services in place as well, maybe occupational therapy, physical therapy, counseling, all of those kind of services, making sure we help you obtain those, giving support groups to you guys, foster parents, having fun events throughout the year. But again, a lot of it does come back to training, making sure that we have provided a lot of knowledge for you, and that we're accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's 2 team members on call to help any parent with any situation. So you don't have to have a lot of experience. You just have to be willing to open your heart, open your home, and join in family with us, really. Our families become our family too, right? And so join in family with us so that we can do this as a group, because I definitely believe kids need a lot of people in their corner, and that's what we all kind of become as a unit together. Obviously, the parent is in that primary role, but they're not in it alone.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so, if one is, they come and they're trained to become a foster family, and that works out, is there some way or a step to maybe make that more of a permanent?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So let's talk a
So
little bit about that.
yeah, some of our families kind of start out just as babysitters, and then they babysit for other foster families we have, and then sometimes they'll move into, okay, we'll do respite, so we'll do some overnight care for kids, and then lo and behold, they're ready to receive a placement. They want to go forward with having a kid placed with them. So that's kind of a fairly common flow.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And so once you become licensed and you are part of that, and you get your child placed in your home, or children, if that's what you choose to do so, and then you mentioned the support that is provided, right? There's constant support. There's somebody working with you. Is there a length of time? Is it just based on individual, or is this like something you do for XYZ amount of years or months, or how does that
Oh,
work?
sure. Yeah, some of our foster parents have been with us much longer than me, been here, a decade or more. But that's really up to the individual family how long they want to foster. In with each kid, it's different. The goal of the case when a child comes into care is reunification. So foster parents are helping the kid feel safe in their home, but also helping facilitate visits with the biological family in effort to help the kiddo return home. A little more than half of our kiddos do transition out of our foster home and back into a family placement. So either parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles. Yeah. So, and some who can't, then it becomes the situation where the child needs permanency and the foster parent can move forward with adoption should they choose. And some of
Oh,
our families are foster only, and some are foster to adopt, so that if that does happen, the child would not necessarily have to move from their home. Yeah.
good. All right. Well, that cleared something up for me. And that was what I was leading up to when I asked the
Gotcha.
question earlier about the fostering, and then eventually, if there is no reunification and the child can become a foster to adopt, then
Correct.
it works.
Correct.
Okay. Good.
And I know you were mentioning fear. One of the things that is both confusing, I think, for people sometimes, and something that they're afraid of, is this understanding that we're going to work on connecting and attachment, but yet we're also working on within the foster home, right? But then we're also working on kiddo going home. So how is it for the child to connect with the foster parents and then have to leave, or leave and go back home? How is that for the foster family? And then how is that for the child?
Oh, okay.
And because for the foster parent, a lot of times what we'll hear is, well, I'm afraid to connect because then it's going to hurt. Yes. True. Nothing around, you can't get around that. But at the same time, what you're providing as a foster parent in those connections, and this is what we know about attachment, is that when a child is able to attach to a primary caregiver, that connection, that attachment, becomes sort of the blueprint for connections the rest of their life. So if they can establish that healthy relationship, even with the foster parent, then that's the kind of relationship they can go on to establish with their family of origin. If they haven't already had that safe connection, they then have the ability to do that. So what a foster parent is able to provide a child in making that connection can last that child a lifetime, right? And it only really takes one healthy relationship in order to see those seeds of resiliency in a person. In a person's life. So we get to be in that role as foster parents of that seed of resiliency, whether or not that child stays in the foster home permanently or goes back home. So it does hurt, but that's the upside, and that's the silver lining that we get to help in those ways.
Sometimes is there a continuous relationship after? Is it that like
Sure.
the kids get to come back and visit?
Yeah, and that just depends on the relationship that occurs between the family, the biological family, and the foster parents. And in some situations, a relationship is established, and the family is happy to continue the relationship with the foster parents. We've certainly seen that, and I've experienced that to some extent personally, and my experiences with fostering and adopting. So those relationship opportunities are there if the foster family and the biological family want to continue that connection, which is often case very helpful for the kids.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Like, especially if the foster family really gave that child the opportunity to learn how to trust and build that whole, healthy relationship aspect of a child, learning what that's like, and then like you said, it's going to be passed on going back to their biological family or to another, wherever they head to. And I think that's kind of important too. I know it's kind of like almost like being raised like grandma, and then a couple years later you have to go back and really spend more time, and just like, oh, but like, but at the same time, me personally, bouncing around a lot when I was younger, knowing that I learned to have a good relationship or a good connection, and learning what it's like to just have an understanding of that you belong somewhere, and that someone cares about you, and that you can care about somebody else. It gives you that. And I think that's why I asked about that. But yeah, is there anything that you want to share with the community out there? Do you want words of encouragement? And I know that you're an experienced foster family. Yes.
I am. I was a foster parent, and then became an adoptive mother. So it's interesting because I started work as a therapist, working with foster kids and foster families, and then as a program director, and then as a foster parent myself. So kind of experiencing what it's like to be in the shoes of the foster parent. And so when I talk about things like the fear of attachment to the kid, and if the kiddo leaves, and but feeling good about what you were able to help the kid with, and the biological family, I can relate to those things as well. So I guess if I was just going to share something, I think I would just say that, and I had a wonderful foster family. Kind of, they shared this with me, so I'll repeat it. And I think it's a slogan in the military, and I certainly don't want to knock the military in any way, but the slogan says something like, "It's the hardest job you'll ever love," something like that.
Mm.
And the foster family used to talk to me about that's what it's like to foster. And certainly, I'm sure being in the military is as well. So I don't want to, knock that, but I really related a lot to that in terms of foster care, just as that other family did. It is hard. It's hard for lots of reasons, and a big part of that is the emotional stuff.
Mm.
But it's also something that if you've experienced, most people that experience it can appreciate how wonderful it is and what a blessing it is to be in that role as foster parent, even through the hard times. Because I think it's the hardest job you'll ever love. So yeah, I guess just if you've been thinking about it, know that you have a community here to continue to help you think about it, and to walk alongside you. And we're excited to do that. We love working with foster kids and foster families. Um, so yeah, I would say go for it.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Allie. Appreciate you. Thank you for sharing, your knowledge, um, and thank you for the work that you're doing through the
Well,
Children's
thank
Shelter
you.
foster care program that we have. And again, out there for our viewers, any questions, comments, you can always leave them here on our comment section, or we will be posting the information. Um, I will be posting our foster care information flyer after this feed. And if you have any questions, any inquiries at all, you will get connected to that. If you want to go to our children'sshelter.org, it's children'sshelter.org, and you can go to our foster care section there. You'll get a lot of information and a direct inquiry, which Lishia will get, our foster care recruiter, who's not here today, but we'll be back next week. So we will be back again next week with Lishia for our lunch with Lishia. And yeah, thank you again so much, everybody out there, for tuning in. Again, my name is Ernesto Olivo. I am the social media and art and activities coordinator here at the Children's Shelter. And Allie, thank you so much for being here with us again. And look forward to having you back again, because it's always a pleasure having you.
Well,
Such a great spirit.
thank you, and thank you for having me, and thank you for the wonderful things that you do. And I want to thank each and every one of my team members over here in the foster care department, and all of our foster families. We love you. Keep up the great work, and if you're interested in doing this, give us a ring.
All right.